Hi friends, this is Miss Horrocks. I am the elementary art teacher at West Valley 1 and I am super excited to talk to you about Georgia O'Keeffe. She is an artist that I think is really awesome and she lived in the Southwest and she painted lots of things inspired by that part of the United States. So this is Arizona where she lived. And this is a painting that was inspired by the landscape around her. Here's another one. And another one. Georgia O'Keeffe is famous for painting flowers. She painted flowers super up close so that we would see all of the details in the flowers. Now these paintings are big. Lots of details, lots of colors, and again, super big paintings. This is one of my favorite paintings of hers, and this is what has inspired our project today. So out in the desert, she would come across cattle skulls. Sometimes they were cows or horses, and she would paint them, and they are so beautiful. She has lots and lots of paintings inspired by cattle skulls, and that's what we are going to be making today. Friends, I want you to look at the detail in the skulls. We are going to be drawing them. Our backgrounds are going to be a little different though. Our backgrounds are going to be southwestern patterns and colors. Alrighty guys, your first job is going to be a warm-up and it has two purposes. The first purpose is to get your brain and your eyes and your hands ready to make art. But the second purpose is so that you have the visual references for these southwestern patterns. You're going to need to have all of these in front of you for the next step, and because I'm not there to give you one, you're going to need to make your own. So friends, what this is going to look like for you, you're going to have a second piece of paper, and you are going to press pause, and you are going to do your best to copy all of these shapes. So just like if we were in class, your job is to look at the shapes and patterns and draw them so you have your own. Pattern are repeating lines and shape. And these are Southwestern patterns that I found by looking at pictures of Southwestern art on the internet, especially Southwestern pattern rugs. I got a lot of inspiration from looking at patterns on pottery. So friends, I'm going to press, actually you are going to press pause. I'm going to give you a good shot of this paper. You're going to press pause and you are going to copy every single one of these. I want you to have a paper that looks just like mine because that's going to be your visual reference for our next step. Guys, I want to take a second to give you a reminder with these videos. If I'm going too fast, you can press pause to catch up. You can rewind to see something that I just did. So remember that you have those controls. Okay, bye-bye. Okie dokie, you should have a paper that looks like this. Maybe your patterns went all the way across, maybe they stopped halfway. As long as you have all of these in front of you, this is what you're going to need for the next step. So grabbing a fresh piece of paper, my paper is going up and down. This is called portrait. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide my paper into horizontal stripes. So I happen to have a ruler at my house. If you have a ruler, that's awesome. If you don't, you can use the side of anything. You could use the side of a book. You could use another piece of paper, and all you would need to do is kind of line it up and draw stripes all the way down. I want mine to be pretty even, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ruler at the top of my paper, and I'm going to make a little mark at every inch. So at the 1, I'm making a little mark. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. Guys, if you don't have a ruler, you can use something else to measure it. Like you could use like the cap of a pen. You can measure things out that way. You could use an eraser. You could use anything. Once I have those little measurements, I am going to very carefully draw horizontal stripes across my paper. I want them to be nice and even and nice and straight. So whether you're using a ruler or the side of a book or a piece of cardboard, any old thing will work. You can do this in pencil, you can do it in marker, whatever you've got is fine with me. If you guys weren't watching, I'd probably use pencil, but this pen will make it a little easier for you to see what I've got going on. Alrighty, I've got my stripes. So friends, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose patterns to put in each one of my stripes, and they need to go all the way across. One pattern needs to fill the whole stripe. So I've got my visual reference over here, and I'm going to decide which one I want to go first. And I think I'm going to do this one first. So guys, go at your own pace. You can draw along with me, whatever you want. You're using your visual reference to put shapes over in here. Whatever you're doing, you're drawing slowly and carefully though. That's the most important part. I'm keeping things the same size as I go across. There we go, there's my first row. For my next one, I'm going to draw these diagonal lines. Oh, that was my head. My head was in the way. There's my ponytail, sorry. And above them, I'm going to draw circles. Next, I'm going to draw these little steps. I think those are pretty cool. And I'm just going to keep on going all the way down. Sometimes I like to turn my paper. It's easier for me to draw lines that go straight up and down than to draw lines that go side to side. I don't know why. Next, I'm going to do these kind of spiral lines, but they have angles instead of curved lines, which are kind of cool. They look a little Greek to me. All right, moving right along. More than halfway done. One more. This one didn't turn out exactly how I thought it would. Oops. Oh. Alrighty guys, I decided to use colored pencil, and the reason why is I wanted my colors to be lighter. We looked at a bunch of Georgia O'Keeffe's work, and if you notice, she doesn't have a lot of like super dark colors. Southwestern colors are inspired kind of by nature and the landscape that's around them. So there's lots of oranges and kind of reds. I've got some greens and some blues. Um, I don't want anything super, super bright. So I want you to look at whatever you have available to you and kind of look at some of Georgia O'Keeffe's work and find a few colors that you want to use and have those ready. So what I did is I went through my box and I picked out these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color this whole thing. So guys, just like when we're using pattern, the lines repeat, the colors need to repeat too. So whatever you have going on, it needs to be consistent across your whole pattern. Alright, let's get started. Alrighty guys, we finished our background. Our next step is to draw our cattle skull. So friends, I used a regular pencil for this. There is nothing fancy or special about this pencil. It's just a regular pencil, and I'm going to show you how to use it so that you can get all of these different values. The magic tool is your finger, your blending finger. It's really, really cool. So let's get started. You need a new piece of paper. Our paper is going up and down. And here's one last look at this guy. We looked at a lot of real life cattle skulls. We looked at some of Georgia O'Keeffe's beautiful painted cattle skulls. So we are going to draw one ourselves. So what you need is a regular pencil. My friends, if you look down at your hand and you see a mechanical pencil, your job is to put down the mechanical pencil. I promise you, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. You need to find a regular old pencil like this. If you have an eraser, that would be awesome too. This is actually kind of a sloppy drawing, so you can make a lot of like mistakes, and it's really not going to matter at all. So guys, before we draw anything, we need to think of our composition. So my cow skull is going to start kind of right about here, and then because I need room for his horns curve up, and then the rest of it is down here. I kind of want to fill up my page, but if it's a little bit smaller, I'm not going to be too worried about it. You know that I like to draw big, but in this case, if it's a little bit smaller, that'll be okay because we've got that beautiful background. So starting in the middle, I'm going to go down a little ways, and I'm going to draw a curved line. Notice that I drew that kind of dark. Now that I've drawn my curved line, I'm going to draw my horns. So guys, I want my horns to be symmetrical. I want them to be kind of the same on each side. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, this is kind of a sloppy drawing, and you'll see why a little bit later. All right, guys, starting right here, I'm going to draw lines that kind of curve out. They curve away from the middle of the page. They curve away from the middle of the page, and then they're going to curve back in towards the middle of the page. And again, I want them to be pretty symmetrical. Alrighty guys, next I'm going to kind of follow this line, and I'm going to go in on both sides, kind of like I'm drawing a heart. And I'm going to go down towards the bottom of my page, and I'm going to draw a little W, 2 curved lines. So that is the basic outline of my cattle skull. Again, it does not have to be perfect. Do not worry about that. Alrighty guys, next I'm going to draw next I'm going to draw some kind of crackly lines in the bone. When we looked at our cattle skulls, there was lots of these just kind of like rigid, like crackly, like dry looking lines. So friends, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a like weird line towards the top. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. That is not a straight line. That's like a weird jaggedy line. Guys, I want that line to be nice and dark. It's kind of raggedy, it's random, it's jagged, it's not like this nice, smooth, straight line. And that's going to make a little bit more sense when we start shading. Right now it's just going to kind of look like it sticks out in a weird way, but trust me. Trust me. Alrighty, what should we do next? Let's draw circles for our eye sockets. They just kind of fit right here into that space that we made. Again, they don't have to be perfect. What should we do next? Alrighty guys, next I'm going to draw kind of one of those crinkly, ragged lines that start all the way up at the bottom of this kind of circle thingy, half circle I guess. And it's going to be a jagged, weird line that goes all the way down to the bottom. And guys, I'm pressing pretty hard. I made that line pretty dark. Alright guys, next I'm going to draw a curved line right about here, and this curved line is going to be really like raggedy too. It kind of starts right here between the eyes, and it curves out, and then curves back in, making this pretty dark. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical, just make it kind of cool and like jagged. Alright guys, next we're going to draw where his nose is, and it's actually going to be like holes. You know when you see a human skull, you don't see like the nose because that's cartilage. If you wiggle the end of your nose, it is not bone. And so when you don't have your skin on or your nose on, it just kind of looks like these holes. So we're going to do that same thing too. So I'm going to start right about here, and I'm just going to draw a curved line. This one can just be like a normal line. It doesn't have to be all jaggedy. And actually, I'm going to want it to kind of go down and then come back up. Okay, this one, I'm going to have it go down and then come back up. There we go. I'm going to take my eraser, if I can find it. There we go. I'm just going to erase that first line. Does that make sense how I kind of wanted them to come up towards the middle a little bit more? Alrighty, now I'm going to draw a couple of lines kind of where his eye sockets are, and these are those weird jagged lines. So I'm starting right about here, and I'm going up, and then I'm going to do one kind of right about here and going up too. Same thing on this side, kind of jaggedy lines. And remember guys, with these jaggedy lines we're pressing kind of hard. Okie dokie. So those are just kind of the basic lines of our cattle skull. I know that this looks a little bit weird because it's just a line drawing right now, so we're going to add value. So friends, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to color in our eye sockets, and just going to pretend that this is a colored pencil, and I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to fill in the whole thing. I want it nice and dark. Nice and dark. I'm pressing down pretty hard. Alrighty guys, once I have that done, I'm gonna, oops, I just threw my pencil. I'm gonna take my blending finger and I'm just gonna smear it around. It got a little bit on the outside of my eye socket. That's totally cool. Let's do the same thing with this guy over here. So guys, I'm pressing hard. I'm putting a lot of material down. What that means is I'm making sure a lot of pencil lead comes off of my pencil onto the paper. When I do that, it makes it so I can blend it. So guys, I want lots of material down. I'm just kind of layering on that lead. Blending finger, and go to town. Voila. Alrighty guys, next I'm going to do these kind of socket thingies. So if you look over here at my drawing that I did first, this was like my practice drawing. See how it starts dark and then it goes light. So guys, I'm making a gradient. I want it to be dark on top and light on the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. Dark on top. I'm pressing down really hard, guys. And then as I get lower, I'm pressing down lighter and lighter. And then I'm not putting anything on the bottom at all. It kind of blend together any lines. So I've got lots of value up top and it's really light at the bottom. I'm going to take my blending finger, same thing with my eye sockets. I'm just going to kind of smush that around. I want the bottom to be a little bit lighter, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase some of that. And blend it a little bit with my finger, and voila, that's how I want it. Alrighty. Same thing on this side. So at the top, I've got lots of material, lots of lead, and then I want it to get lighter as I go down. And be totally light at the bottom. There we go. And I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to press down really hard so that you can see kind of that jagged line that was there to begin with. Okie dokie. So guys, those are going to be the darkest values on our skull. That's going to be the darkest part. All the other shading we do is going to be not quite so dark. Alrighty guys, let's start at the top. Before I do the value up here, I'm going to add some details to my horns. So I'm adding a curved line, and then I'm adding kind of another curved line on top of it. Curved line, and then another curved line on top. So this is, his horns are all bone, and obviously at one point he had skin on his head, and that's kind of where the skin like stopped, and then it was just bone after that. So what I want to do is I want to add value, or I want to shade around these lines. I want the darkest parts to be where those kind of crackly lines are. So I don't want them to be as dark as my eyes though. My eyes were and my nose were the darkest values. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put in some material right by that line. Notice I didn't like color the whole thing in. That's not what I want to do. I wanted to put it just kind of right by that line. And then I'm going to take my blending finger and I'm just going to blend it out. And this trick is super easy and it makes you look like a super professional artist. I'm going to go darken up right by that line. I'm adding some more darkness just like right by that line, and I'm gonna blend it out one more time. Woohoo! Alrighty guys, kind of by this like weird ear thing, by the lines that I've already drawn, I'm just gonna add some value. Remember, value is lightness or darkness. I didn't color the whole thing in, I just added value around the edges, and then I'll go through with my finger and blend that in. So guys, if your pencil isn't blending as well as mine is, try putting more pencil on the paper. Try like putting more material down onto the paper. That should help you out. So just think about getting a lot of the lead out of the pencil onto your paper. Okie dokie. Let's go to this one up here. So guys, this is called the brow ridge. If you guys touch your own faces, the bone underneath your brows, they kind of stick out a little bit. I want you to feel that. I had to take off my glasses to do that, so maybe you did too. So guys, there's always shadow right there on anything with an eyebrow. So I'm going to add that material kind of by that line. I'm not coloring the whole shape in, I'm just kind of adding material by that line. And I'm going to use my blending finger to smear it around. I'm going to go add just a little bit more kind of by that jagged line. I want this part to be nice and dark. And blend it out. The trick is to not really see any harsh lines. We just kind of want it to be like soft colors. Ooh, this is already looking super good. Okay, let's do the same thing on this side. So you have kind of just like putting material kind of in that area. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to blend it out with my finger. If you get too much material on there and you want it to be lighter, just take your eraser and lift some up. If you remember down here by the nose, it got too dark, so I just erased some. There we go. Just going around the edge of things and blending them together. I'm going to put a little bit kind of on the side of his horn. There we go. Ooh, look how cool that's starting to look. We're doing a good job. Okie dokie. Let's do kind of this side of this line. I'm only going to put value on one side of this kind of crack. I just feel like looking at the pictures that I've seen, it seems to kind of be darker on one side. Adding the value and then using my blending finger to blend it out. Going in and darkening up that crack a little bit. There we go. And just with whatever's left over on my fingers, look at how dirty my fingers are, guys. I'm just gonna kind of put some right about there. All right, I feel good about the forehead. Let's move down to, I don't know, this part above his nose. So starting on the outside edges, I'm going to lay down some material just around the edge, then blend it with my blending finger. If I want it to be darker, add more. If I want it to be lighter, just erase it. You can put some right here. Already on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. Oops, I just dropped my pencil again. Looking good. Okie dokie. I think that this line right here, I'm gonna add just a little bit on one side. There we go. Okay, I feel good about that. I'm kind of go in and make that crack a little bit darker. Just want to make sure that stands out. It's kind of a weird, cool line. Okay. Cool. Alrighty. Next, let's do these little guys right here. So on the side closest to his eye, so kind of like above the line, I'm going to add some value. Also gonna kind of go up here a little bit. And blend it in. Remember, I don't want it all to be the same value. I want there to be kind of like movement. So that is nice and light. Next to that, that's nice and dark. Can you guys hear my dog running around? That is what I'm looking for, because when your darks are nice and dark, your highlights will look lighter. When your highlights are nice and light, the dark parts will look darker, and it gives your artwork more contrast. Contrast is a tool that we can use to make our art look interesting. Just gonna darken up a little bit right here. There we go. Okay, cool. Moving right along. Next I'm just gonna do kind of the sides of his face. Just the sides. And blend it with my finger. Again, if this isn't blending out, just add some more pencil. Same thing on this side. I'm going to turn my paper. There we go. Looking good. I'm just going to darken up like the bottom of this W a little bit. Just to give it some contrast. Cool. Okay. I feel pretty good about my skull. Yeah. Next, I am going to add value to his horns. So guys, if you look at my practice drawing, his horns have a lot more texture than the skull does. The skull is really smooth, but the horns, you can see the texture of the bone. So that's kind of what I'm going to go for. So it's going to look like I'm a little bit sloppier with this, but it's really more just wanting texture. So I'm pressing down nice and hard. And I'm just going to make lines that follow the contour of the bone. And then I'm going to go through with my blending finger and blend it up. I think some of those lines are a little bit too harsh. So what I did is I just took my eraser and I erased some of them. Now I can go and blend it out again. There we go. Same thing on this side. Just making some lines that follow the contour of the bone. And voila, there we go. We've got our kettle skull. Okie dokie. What I'm going to do next is I am going to find some scissors and then something to use to glue. I've got a bottle of glue at my house. If you have glue, that's awesome. If you have tape, that would work too. Let's see. Okay, I've got some scissors. Alright guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my cattle skull. Cutting slowly and carefully, staying on my lines. Voila. Alright, my cattle skull is cut out. I'm going to take my background and I am going to decide where I want it to go. I want mine to go right in the very middle. If you want yours to go somewhere else, that's cool. I'm going to take my cattle skull, turn it over, and if you're using glue, great. If you're using tape, great. If you're using glue, just don't use too much glue. Don't go crazy with the glue. It's not helpful. It just makes a mess. Alrighty, so I have a little bit of glue around the edge of my cattle skull. You don't need glue in the middle. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to very carefully place it where I want it to go. And then very lightly, I'm just going to kind of press down. Just going to smear that glue around under there and make sure that he stays where he should be. Guys, if you've got a bunch of glue that is coming out, then you use too much glue and use less glue. Alright guys, and there it is. There is our Georgia O'Keeffe cattle skull. I'm super impressed with myself and I'm super impressed with you guys too. I hope you like it.